What is going on? What is going on? Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Friday, May 9th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Somebody's going to say, Slee was late. 8 a.m. on the dot. Go look at the clock right now, okay? I don't want to hear it today. Not on a Friday. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully everybody's off to a nice morning. I'm off to a good morning. I got my cup of Joe, a full cup of coffee today. This thing is just like, you can't get any more full. You can't have any more coffee to start your day. Now, I'm only a few sips in, but give me a second. Let me enjoy my cup of coffee. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We got a fun show today. No guests today. I like how I'm doing that now. It's like if I have a guest, I feel like I'm in a hurry. If I don't have a guest, I feel like I'm sitting on the couch doing the show. So we'll be taking our time today. Obviously a Friday, so looking forward to get the weekend preview and everything else. Before I give everyone an idea what we're going to do for the show today, let me just really, really quickly fire over a quote to everybody. This one's good. Thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle. Happiness never decreases by being shared. It's phenomenal. Have I done that one before? When I saw that this morning, I'm like, oh, awesome. I've never done it. And then right before the show started, I'm like, Al, did you do this? What kind of memory do I have? I don't know. I think I'm losing my memory here. Hopefully I haven't done it. If I have done it, then the good thing is somebody else is going to fire a couple quotes in, and then you guys can take some stuff from that. Let's give everyone a quick preview for the show today. Quick little rundown. Give everyone an idea what we got going on. I will start out the show just talking a little bit, not too much. I thought it was one of the more boring games we've had in the playoffs yesterday. Talk a little bit about the Wolves and the Golden State Warriors. That was the only NBA game yesterday. It was a 5:30 tip-off. By the time we got to halftime, like, why am I still watching this game? By the time I got to the fourth quarter, I'm like, Al, you really don't have – you got to find some other things in your life that's a little bit more exciting. We'll get a little bit into that game. Not much, like I said. I just have – I think just one real thought on the actual game of just how the Golden State Warriors survive without Steph Curry. Are the Minnesota Timberwolves, were they good yesterday, or is just Steph Curry's not there? Because the Minnesota Timberwolves that we all watched together as they beat the Lakers in 4 games, they look like the greatest team ever. And then all of a sudden they start watching they start playing the Golden State Warriors, and they look like a completely different team. I'm like, all right, I think I've said this how many different times. I'm more insecure about the Lakers watching Minnesota versus Golden State than I was even after Lakers lost in 5 games. So a little bit of time on that. Draymond Green postgame. You know, if there are a lot of kind of a lot of the content coming out of that first, or a lot of content coming out of yesterday's game was Draymond Green postgame. We'll play it. You know, Anthony Slater, who's part of The Athletic, took some video yesterday postgame. Draymond gave his how he felt about people are viewing him and everything else. I want to talk about Draymond because I think Draymond is one of the most polarizing athletes in all of sports. And by the way, he's also a winner. But he had a very, very interesting post game that I want to talk about. So we'll spend a little bit of time on Draymond. So we'll do that. Best centers available in free agency. This is something that you guys have been asking me to do. And I probably haven't done it yet just because we're so early in the postseason, or we're so early. Yeah, I guess you can call it Lakers postseason. We're so early on that it's kind of like, all right, we'll get to that. You know, NBA free agency, we still got a couple of months until that happens. Granted, that's going to happen pretty quick. But we'll look at some of the best available free agents from a center perspective and see what the Lakers are going to do. I want to get your guys' opinion of which of these players. Hoops Hype did a good job of just ranking. They ranked all the free agents, but then they did specifically, you know, you could pick centers, you can pick guards, you could pick whatever. I just did centers. We'll take a look at the centers out there and see if there's anybody out there that you think is a good fit for the Lakers. Couple of small things on Laker news, you know, nothing crazy out there. I saw something about a preseason game potentially between the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks in Vegas. I think Mark Stein was reporting that. A little bit more on LeBron's injury. So we got a few things that I'll get into. I'll just kind of lump them all together. Are the Boston Celtics done? We'll take a look at some of the games coming up and how quick people are kind of writing off the Boston. So I'm not writing them off. I don't know how you guys feel about Boston, but we would like to see them lose. But I don't think the series is over. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I got the weekend preview, and then hopefully everybody gets an opportunity to enjoy their weekend, enjoy their Saturday, their Sunday, Mother's Day, and everything else. All right, let me get a couple. Comments in, and then we'll go today. Slee came 11:03. Didn't get the update if you're drinking coffee or tea today. I got coffee, my brother. No tea today. Appreciate you asking. I appreciate that that's a concern of yours. Because to be honest with you, a lot of people don't ask. Hey, Slee, good morning. How are you? Hey, Slee, how's your coffee this morning? You know, just a nice dialogue, a nice conversation back and forth. I honestly think the Warriors World Series is showing more about You might be right. I'll save this one. I'll come back to it. You might be right about that. Yeah. I don't know, man. Whatever I thought about the Lakers coming in, obviously none of that happened. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. That's good right there. That's right. You know, you could be book smart. You could be street smart. I like that. It's a combination of the two right there. All right, let's see if we got anything else here before we get the show started. Let's see. All right. Okay. All right, let's get the show started. If you got some thoughts, comments, you want to throw them in, feel free to do so. I'll do my best to get to some of your comments as the show goes on. Thank you for hanging out as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind, and we'll get the show started. Okay, so first things first. Let's just, like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I've had curiosity in this series between the Timberwolves and the Warriors, primarily because I just want to know, like, all right, are the Lakers, did they lose against a team that is going to get to the Western Conference Finals, are really, really good and talented, or did they lose against a team that just happened to look unbelievable against them, and then, you know, they go out against the rest of the competition in the NBA and they're not as good? Here's a reality. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to find out. I don't know. I just know this. I know up to this point, Steph Curry left after playing 13 minutes of game one, didn't play in game two. I don't think anybody's expecting him back. I'll get it. His injury might be a little more complicated, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But if I'm a Laker fan and I'm trying to see, hey, how good is Minnesota? Did the Lakers just lose against a team that just is, hey, this is a really good squad and they were just better than you? Yes, technically they did. But are they also a team that has a true threat of representing the Western Conference in the NBA Finals? I don't think we're going to be able to find out. Steve Kerr was saying something yesterday post-game, which, to be honest with you, I really liked his explanation. He said they played 13 guys yesterday. And what he was explaining was, I need to figure out a different recipe, because our entire system was built basically around one guy in Steph Curry. That was the foundation of the house that they built. And you ripped out that foundation. He's got to now figure out what to do. And he played 13 guys yesterday. Give him an idea. Well, who the hell are we going to play in game 3 and 4? What guys can we depend on? What are the young players that they think is that they feel like, you know, it gives them a chance or an opportunity to go get W, whatever the case is. Yesterday, Minnesota dominated the Warriors. Well, I don't really take much from it. You know, I mentioned this to you guys. I was joking around, but I was also being completely serious at the same tone. It was such a boring game. There was just nothing exciting about it. And you know, Golden State without Steph Curry is a completely different team. They're obviously trying to figure out how they can be competitive on a consistent basis in this series. Minnesota won 117-93. What it did look like for a second there, you know, Julius Randle, 24, 11, and 7. I'm like, okay, well, that's the Julius Randle that the Lakers were watching for 5 games when Minnesota dominated the Lakers. Jaden McDaniels chipped in with 16 points, shot 7 of 10 from the field. I'm like, okay, well, there's Jaden McDaniels. Anthony Edwards hasn't had all that great of a series, but he did have 29 and 5, had a couple of steals. They had a lot of contributions off their bench. I think had I think close to 40 points off their bench, something along those lines. So Minnesota looked like Minnesota, but I just don't think there's really any way to gauge this series just based upon, like I mentioned, until you kind of figure out is Steph Curry back or is he not coming back? Last thing I'll say on just yesterday's game, and then I want to move on. There's a couple things I want to move on to. A, Draymond, and B, just Steph Curry here real quick. Last thing I'll just say about yesterday's game, if you're the Golden State Warriors, basically when you went up 1-0 and Steph Curry leaves with that hamstring injury, all you're asking for now is, can you win one of the next 3 games? I know that sounds a little insane, but they already lost one of them. You're trying to just split at home. And all you're trying to do is just keep this series 2-2 through 4 games and then check on Steph Curry. How you feeling? And then if you get to a game 5 and you're down 3-2, check on Steph Curry. How you doing? And then if you can just force it, I mean, that's really, this entire series is just trying to prolong this series as long as you possibly can until you could potentially get Steph Curry back. That's all that matters for them. I'm going to read something here from Steph Curry. He said yesterday before the game, just talking about his injury, a grade 1 left hamstring strain. Really sucks not, seeing Curry in the lineup there. Obviously, that's such a critical piece. And it just takes away from exciting playoff basketball. If we're going to be watching the second round of the playoffs, can we have both teams that are healthy? You go look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're missing 3 of their top 5 players. Porzingis missed most of game 1. He had an illness. I'm just talking about guys that are out. You want to see these players in the lineups. You hate to see guys that are not there. Here's what Steph Curry said. He said, this is all new. From what I'm learning about how quickly you can get back, there has to be a healing process. You can't accelerate it more than what it's telling you. So it'll be one of those after a week, really, really, really reevaluating every day to understand when it's safe just to think even about playing, let alone how much you can push it. Reading his quotes, one more quote he said. He said he's a little ways away from taking stationary jump shots. He said the rehab process right now is a lot. One of the things that I kind of walked away is, I don't know if we're going to see Steph Curry back anytime soon. That's just kind of the reality. The way Steve Kerr has talked about it, the way obviously they've talked about it. I guess the one thing they're all kind of banking on here, he's going to be reevaluated after game 4, it sounds like. Game 5 is on a Wednesday. Then there's a 3-day break before game 6. And I think that's how they're trying to kind of figure this out. Is there a way they can get him back late in the series? Well, that's going to also depend on the Golden State Warriors winning some games without him. So with all that being said, kind of put the game away because I don't think the game was that big of a deal, nor do I think it was that exciting to talk about. I don't think you could really learn that much about the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think we could look at the Lakers and say, oh, you know what? Minnesota woke up. I don't think you can really take much away from any of that stuff. So I'm going to put all that stuff to the side here. It doesn't look like Steph Curry's coming back in game 3 or game 4 or game 5. I think probably the best potential for him to target would be game 6, where you get those extra 3 days before game 6. So it's going to be up to the Golden State Warriors to win one game without him to just kind of extend this series as far as they can. Okay, I'm going to get to the Draymond Green piece of this because I do actually think that was probably the biggest piece to come out of yesterday's game. I'm going to do that in just a second. Let me read a couple of these comments here. You cannot use the Timberwolves as a measuring stick. They play up and down to their competition. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if they lose or split the next 2 games. Reasonable Vikings fan. Sounds like somebody that's a Timberwolves fan as well. Yeah, I think that, by the way, I think that says a lot about Minnesota. This is why I've said before, I feel more insecure about the Lakers than I ever have. I think what you just described right there is a great way of explaining it. If they're 2-2 after 4 games and Steph has virtually not had any impact in all 4 games, I think that actually says a lot about the Minnesota Timberwolves. It means they're not nearly as good as the Lakers made them look. I mean, isn't that what it means? If you told me that Steph Curry got injured in this series, he got injured in game 1, and you told me that Minnesota swept the Golden State Warriors, I'd say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They lost Steph Curry. Of course it makes sense. They got a system there. They obviously got a coach there. They got players, veterans there. They got champions there. They know what the hell they're doing. So they'll make it a dogfight. I mean, they'll work as best as they can under the circumstances. But at this point, all they're trying to do is extend the series. All right, let me get another one here. Warriors have a point guard. Warriors not having a point guard is apparent. They're missing CP3 right now. Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to, was it at halftime or post game on TNT? They were talking something like, maybe it was Kenny Smith. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're basically saying that they got no setup guy. There's no setup guy. It might have been on the broadcast as well. There's no setup guy. He is so obviously incredibly important to what they do on a night in, night out basis. It's completely different. All right, let me see what I got here. Let's get a couple more in these, and then we'll play that clip of from last night as well. Problem with the Warriors is they play better on the road than at home. Wolves were up to beat the Lakers after Stephen A. gassed them before the series. Yeah, I was listening to, there was a podcast talking about that, how they used so much of that fuel that everybody was picking, the Lakers, including me. Everyone was picking the Lakers. And then I saw this, I listened to a podcast where then all of a sudden the Wolves kind of started getting a lot of credit, and the Wolves were using that first round motivation. Chris Finch was, look, nobody's picking us, this, all that. And then everybody started picking them. It's like, all right, what are they using now as motivation? All right, yesterday after the game, Draymond Green was not happy. I don't think he was happy. And I'm going to play this here for everybody because I want to spend a little bit of time on this. I got some thoughts on Draymond Green. I got some thoughts on, there's a few different ways I think to describe Draymond, and I want you guys to know something. Yeah, I like to keep a lot of what I do about the basketball side of things. I like to keep it about the sports side of things. Frankly, I don't think it's fair to, talk too much about. I just don't know. I don't know enough about these guys to know their personal life or things along those lines. So why would I mix all that stuff in? I'm not here to break down somebody's personal life. I'm here to break down an NBA game, a basketball game. Draymond Green yesterday post game was, let's just say, he was, I think, sick of it is how he put it, and he's talking about how he's viewed. Anthony Slater, who covers the Warriors for The Athletic. Anthony Slater, if you guys know him as well, he's been nice enough to come on my podcast before. He used to always come on with me on radio anytime the Lakers were playing the Golden State Warriors. So Anthony Slater does a phenomenal job. He took some video yesterday. Take a quick listen because I want to kind of break this down a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about how Draymond feels, how much of this is fair, unfair, however you perceive Draymond Green. But let's take a quick listen.
You look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. You look like an angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure, kind of what triggered this yesterday for Draymond. Why Draymond felt like he needed to address this yesterday. I'm not 100% sure. I'm really not 100% sure what specifically triggered it. Was it the review that they had on him and Naz Reid? Was that specifically what happened? I was reading into this, this morning. There's a couple things to keep in mind here. Okay. So number one, Green fouled or was fouled by Naz Reid, but he kind of flailed his left arm out, hit Naz Reid in the head, and they went and they reviewed it. I don't know if that's what, by the way, that was also, he was assessed a dead ball technical foul. He is now 2 technicals short of receiving an automatic 1-game suspension. I don't know if that's what triggered it. I don't know if that's what Draymond Green then said, hey, I'm going to rip into the ref. I'm going to rip into whatever agenda's out there in the post game. I also know this too. I saw this morning, that there was a fan who was ejected after directing a racial slur at Draymond Green. Golden State team's security confirmed Green was on a stationary bike in the tunnel near the Warriors bench in the fourth quarter when he had a back and forth with a fan. Authorities escorted the fan out of the arena. You know what I wish they actually did? I wish there was some better video. There was some video, but you didn't really kind of hear the full exchange or anything like that. If that's what's happening while Draymond Green is trying to just be on a stationary bike, okay, I think we could all agree that that's complete bullshit from the fan, and they got to take action. You know what I wish they would do a little bit more of? If there's a fan out there that does something like that, go ahead and expose the fan as well. Go ahead. Put a photo of him out there. Like, expose him as well. At least make people think that they can't get away with doing stuff like that. I don't know why fans always think they could just do and say whatever they want. It's a very, very, very small minority of fans who do it, but it's enough at least to, obviously to at least make them think twice about doing it if you expose them. Let me give you my thoughts real quick on Draymond. All right, and that video. Let me give you when Draymond is at his best and when it's great to watch Draymond, because I'm already looking at some of the comments, and a lot of people are, maybe they're anti-Draymond Green, whatever the case is. Let me try to be as right down the middle as I possibly can on this, talk about the good and the bad when it comes to Draymond. My association with Draymond Green. And again, this is on the basketball court. I don't know exactly what Draymond Green is inching towards as far as an agenda against him, but we'll spend a little bit of time on this. Here is Draymond Green. When I'm watching NBA basketball, here's when he's at his best to watch, to just enjoy what that player brings to the table. And if you guys don't want to give the man credit, I'll be happy to give the man credit. He's selfless. He does all the dirty work. He's an undersized, brilliant defender. He's a champion, a 4-time champion. I don't think they win those championships without Draymond Green. He gets every ounce out of his actual size. We know he was a second-round draft pick. We know that he's been able to kind of come into the league and have sustained impact for a long time. There's a reason why the Golden State Warriors, when they were looking at making decisions and decided not to bring back Klay Thompson, there's a reason why they decided, hey, Draymond Green's the guy that we have to bring back. They just think he has more value at this stage of his career. He can impact a game and win you a game without ever looking at the basket and scoring. That's the best version of Draymond Green when you're watching him. Here's also the other part that comes with Draymond Green. He's a complete wild card. I have no idea what this guy is going to do when he's on the basketball floor. Again, I'm talking about just the basketball floor. When he says there's an agenda out there, it makes it sound like everyone is just against Draymond Green. I don't think that's the case at all. I think Draymond Green has painted himself into this picture on the basketball floor where you sit back and you say to yourself, Draymond, how is your left hand hitting Naz Reid in the face? That's not a basketball play. I don't care what player you are. Those types of plays get reviewed. Draymond Green is known. If I told you, give me what Draymond Green is most known for in the NBA, you know one of the things that comes up? When he got suspended for a game for hitting LeBron in the nuts in the NBA Finals, which helped the Cleveland Cavaliers come back from 3-1. He's also known for a chokehold on Rudy Gobert in the middle of a basketball game. He's also known for knocking out one of his players in Jordan Poole in a practice where that video came out, and all anybody seemed to care about was that the video came out, not that Draymond Green actually knocked out one of his own players. I don't think listen, maybe I'm not viewing this the right way. There's an agenda on Draymond Green. Isn't Draymond Green creating whatever image in regards to on the basketball floor? That's the one thing that I'm gonna keep reiterating. Draymond Green, by the way, is a family man. By the way, he is a phenomenal businessman. By the way, I was reading, this was a while back. I think he has the largest donation from an athlete to a university at Michigan State for helping them build a facility. He's obviously heavily involved in a number of different things. But we're just talking basketball. Draymond Green, there's a lot of times where I'm like, Draymond, by the way, there are a lot of times I feel like Draymond gets away with more than other players would, or gets away with talking to referees or going at referees. I'm like, I don't think other players are going to get away with this. I feel like Draymond gets away with a lot. Here's what Draymond has created. He's 2 technical fouls away from a suspension. Okay. He hit Naz Reid yesterday in the face in a non-basketball play. If we're just keeping this basketball and just watching what's on the basketball floor, you cannot tell me that Draymond Green is playing the game the same way that everybody else is. He's just not. By the way, maybe that's been part of Draymond Green's strengths. Maybe this is what makes Draymond Green as valuable as he is. But can we also not pretend that Draymond Green does a lot of things on the basketball floor that are highly, highly questionable, that he is literally known for? If I told you, give me what Draymond Green is most known for, you're going to say champion. You're going to say a critical piece to, obviously the Golden State Warriors and this dynasty that they created. But you're also going to say the dude's a wild card. He's a complete wild card on the floor. I think that's fair to say. Again, and I'm not 100% sure what his quote, what triggered him to have that post-game presser yesterday. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know this. He's got a couple perceptions on the court. He's a winner. He's a champion. And then also there's a lot of times he's a dirty player. There's a lot of times where he's emotional and doesn't have control of his emotions. Doesn't that all kind of come together with Draymond Green? I'm not sure. And I wish he expanded on it more. And maybe he's going to. Maybe he will expand on it more. Maybe he's going to have, now he's going to have an opportunity to sit back and say, okay, this is why I mean there's an agenda. There's an agenda about me, or there's this, or there's that. What was the other play? He had some moments. Was it the Steven Adams play? There was a play, something happened, and it was all kind of, it was like pop, pop, pop. There's 3-4 different plays that happened over the course of, maybe it was a couple plays that happened, and he had to walk away from the game. It's like, yeah, he's got to walk away and he's got to go get some help. And when he comes back, hopefully he can just kind of get control of his emotions. I would love for him to have expanded on what exactly he meant with that agenda. Maybe we'll get that opportunity to hear from him. But I know the player in 2 different ways. I know the player as, this dude is a guy that you want on your team. This is a guy that's a complete dog. He'll do anything possible to win. But I also know him as, I don't know what you're going to get from Draymond every single night from a emotional perspective. Okay, let's take a look at some of the quotes here. I'm actually curious to see what people think. Let's see. Okay. Slee, everything you're saying is right, but it's all overshadowed by all the crap he does and gets away with. You cannot have it both ways. I got to be honest. I do think there's a lot that he gets away with. I think there are times where he's yelling at a referee and he's already got a technical foul and they're just letting him do it. I'm like, wait a minute. If that was another player that emotional towards a referee, they're not getting thrown out of the game. That's, I guess, one way to look at it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. All right. Definitely does the dirty work. Yeah, listen, if you want to, I think if you're going to have a conversation, here's the difference between Draymond Green and a lot of other players. Yes, the dude is emotional. Yes, the guy is, you kind of have no idea sometimes what you're going to get from him from an emotional perspective. But the dude is also a freaking winner. Like that's a piece that, let me put it this way. Lakers have needed, over these last couple of years, they've needed a player like Draymond Green. You want a player like Draymond Green on your team. The question is going to be, can he handle his emotions? Let's just put it this way. I heard Steve Kerr talking about this yesterday. I heard Jimmy Butler talking about this yesterday as well. There was something about, he had said something about, they just said, listen, he knows what's at stake. If he gets 2 more technical fouls, he's suspended for a game. By the way, I don't even think this is for a round. I think this is the entire playoff. So even if they got past the Minnesota Timberwolves and now they're playing OKC or they're playing Denver, he still puts himself in a position where he can get thrown out for a game. If they don't have Draymond Green in a great game, they're going to lose that game, which could potentially hurt them in losing a series. Like, he's got to also understand his value that he has. All right, let me see what we got here. The way he flailed his arm to hit Reed was crazy, but not new. He gets way more leeway than any other player. The league, all that's being said about Dre, I know he's a good dude off the court. Draymond Green is a dirty, hard-nosed player. Having said that, Lakers could use somebody like I don't disagree with that. Draymond is this generation's Rodman. He's a dirty player that helps his team. I think the only reason why any of this is coming up, I think we know who Draymond Green is. I don't think anybody's kind of questioning who Draymond Green is on the basketball floor. I'd take a Draymond Green in a heartbeat. I would take a player like that in a heartbeat. He truly is. He's a winner. He's a champion. The guy finds a way to win. He's a second-round pick, and look at what he's done in his career. But with all that being said, I guess for me, the piece of it that I'd love for him to expand on when he said there's an agenda against him, I think for the most part, everyone's just kind of assessing who he is on the basketball floor. And when you watch him on the basketball floor, I don't think that there's a miscalculation here. He's a champion. He's a winner. He's also a wild card. I don't know if he's going to get thrown out of this game. I don't know if he's going to flail his arm and knock out somebody. I don't know if he's going to chokehold Rudy Gobert. I don't know. I know if he does something on the floor, I'm less shocked about it because I just say, oh, yeah, that's Draymond. If Luka Doncic in game 3 of the NBA final or the game 3 of the first round out of nowhere chokehold Rudy Gobert, yeah, that's a little bit of a surprise. I don't know what's going on here. I didn't know that was in Luka. If Draymond Green in the next game chokeholds Naz Reid, I'm going to say, well, I've seen this before. It's not going to be a complete shock or anything like that. All right. By the way, let me tell you guys something that I do appreciate with the chat right now. I feel like there are a lot of comments on here that are just like comments that I can highlight and we can have a conversation about. So I appreciate it. Green is a very good player, but he's dirty a lot, like throwing elbows at the end. Happens many times. And the comment here basically saying that he's guilty. Guilty from that perspective. Okay, let's get another one in here. I guess what I'm trying to say about, from a comment perspective, what I've really, really tried to do on this channel, and it's one of my favorite things of why I enjoy, this channel so much, we just have conversations. Nobody's got to get too personal. Just have conversations. Let's see. Draymond is beneath the Lakers. Forget that. I'd take Draymond Green in a heartbeat. I mean, at this stage of his career, obviously it's different. But and if there are some, comps to what Dennis Rodman was back in the day, you didn't want Dennis Rodman on your team? You guys remember it was actually one of the more wild things I've ever watched. You guys remember watching, what were we watching? Last Dance. And they're telling the story where Dennis Rodman's I think he's telling Phil Jackson, hey, I need to go to Vegas for a couple of days. And they're in the middle of I can't remember where they were in the playoffs, but they're in the middle of a playoff run. And then it's Phil Jackson going to have a conversation with Michael Jordan and selling him on the selling him on why Dennis needs to go to Vegas for a couple of days. And Jordan's like, what the F are you talking about? It's Phil Jackson, the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, the Zen master, going to Michael Jordan's like, hey, real quick, you got a quick second? Sure. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about strategy for the upcoming game? No, I want to talk about Dennis Rodman. Okay, great. Yeah. This is how we should use Dennis Rodman. No, I'm not talking about that. Dennis needs to go to Vegas for a couple days. What? He's got to go to Vegas for a couple of days. That's one of the funniest stories I've ever heard here. The Rodman Laker beef era was crazy. Dennis was awesome. We had Artest, Meta World Peace. The NBA. Let's see. Okay, so that kind of gives us a little bit of the Draymond perspective. Look, that's not something you see all the time, where Draymond Green comes out and has that type of a post-game reaction. I wish we knew a little bit more. I actually read something this morning. The San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was. I read something because I wanted to see something from their perspective. It's like, okay, are they going to be protecting Draymond, or are they going to be, will they have a different approach? And their approach was, yeah, Draymond, you can't pretend like on the court you haven't done all these things to create a certain stigma on the court to, if something does happen that involves Draymond Green, maybe the refs are a little bit more quick to go review something. There's a reason for it. It didn't come out of nowhere. There's literally a reason for it. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. And we'll get that in here. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me see. I'm going to wait on the additional comments here real quick. We'll come back to the judgments, or I'm sorry, we'll come back to some of these comments. We'll do that in just a second. I want to get into the best centers available in free agency. I want to spend a little bit of time about that. You guys can see I still got, a number of different topics that I want to get into. So let me jump around to that real quick. Before I do so, shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to a partner that is, I don't know how to put it, somebody who believes in the channel and is in this thing for the long run. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. He is an injury attorney. Let me kind of simplify this. I know if you're out here in Southern California, you're driving around, injury attorney, billboards, all that stuff. Obviously, it's a category that has really kind of infiltrated the market, I guess you can say. You're not going to see Brad Wallace's face everywhere. You're not going to see him try to bombard you with ads and everything else. Very strategic. This is kind of his personality. Doesn't need to be the face of everything that's out there. Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, it's just a matter of trying to get results for his clients. That's his foundation. He's been running his practice for about 10 years. He's somebody that I've known now for about 5 years. I love the fact that he gives me personal examples of different ways that he's helped clients. I've talked a little bit about that case that he had going up against Home Depot. Jury delivered a $4.6 million verdict on behalf of the Wallace firm. They found Home Depot responsible for $3 million of that amount. I share all this to you because maybe today you don't need an injury attorney. Maybe you never need one, which is exactly what we're all hoping for. But things happen in life. Maybe it's something that happened to you or it's a family member. I just want you guys to know that I can make you a personal introduction to one of the best in the business, somebody that can help anybody in the state of California. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Or you can click on the link in my description. You get a free consultation right there. Or if anybody ever reached out to me and say, hey, Al, I know I've heard you talk about Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Can you make an introduction to him? I have something I'd like to talk about with him. I'm happy to do that as well. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to their partnership, and we'll keep the show rolling from here. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen with you guys here. Top centers in free agency. Okay, so I think we all understand this, and we've all kind of walked through this and talked about this a little bit. And I'm gonna do that with everybody here real quick. So I've had some different guests on, and you guys are knowledgeable enough in the game of the NBA that you guys know exactly, where the Lakers are and what they need and how critical it's going to be for the Lakers to obviously try to build a team around Luka, try to get the right players and the right pieces. If they're going to compete in the Western Conference, they got work to do. I think we all know that they got work to do. So hoops I put out there, and I'm just kind of more curious to get people's opinion. This is not a trade. This is more, can the Lakers go out and try to sign a player? They will have to be a little bit creative in how they do that. They got some expiring contracts and everything else. 2025 NBA free agent ranking, top centers available this summer. Okay. About a week old or so, but it doesn't really matter. I think, obviously the free agents are the free agents. So let me just kind of show you guys some of the free agents that are available. And as soon as you guys see, hey, the Lakers really, really have to go after this guy or that guy, just feel free to put it in the comments, and then we could have that discussion. Miles Turner was their number one free agent available in the summer. What's crazy about Miles Turner? and I think you guys would all agree with me on this. Damn, we've talked a lot about Miles Turner. This dude still is not a Laker. How much time have we spent on Miles Turner alone of trying to figure out, obviously what his role is going to be, or not what his role is going to be. Can the Lakers get him? If they do get him, what's that going to look like? I mean, we've been talking about Miles Turner for a really, really long time. That's the number one center that's available in free agency right now is Miles Turner. Kind of has his stats down here, what he's currently making in the market. So it will kind of give you an idea of what he's probably going to get. All right, second option. Everybody knows a lot about Naz Reid as well. Now, I think Minnesota is going to do everything they can to keep Naz Reid, but something to keep in mind. Naz Reid's only making $13, $14 million a year, so he's got a really, really good contract, something to keep in mind. We all kind of know what he brings to the table. Brook Lopez, older, but here's Brook Lopez. Obviously somebody that's been in the league for a while, at one point played with the Lakers. You see his career earnings. Clint Capella is number 4. And Mo Wagner, who had Lakers drafted, is number 5. Those are your top 5 right there. Before I get into some of the others, those are the 5 players right there that will be free agents. Now, some of these are a little bit different. Some of these guys have team options. Some of these guys do have player options. Which one's got the player option? It's Naz Reid that's got the player option. And then some of these guys are just unrestricted free agents. So something to keep in mind. Those are the top 5. If I go a little bit further down, just so you guys see, because I think people have been talking about these players. Here's Steven Adams. So Steven Adams, you obviously have an idea what kind of his value that he brought to the table with the Houston Rockets. Kevon Looney, obviously part of the playoff picture right now. So there are your centers right there. Those are at least 10 centers there that are going to be available in free agency. As I sit here and I look at the Lakers, I look at their situation, I look at kind of what some of their options are. I think we all understand this is an easy one. This is a simple one. Lakers got to go get bigs. Not even just a big. They probably got to get a couple bigs. Now, how you go about doing so? Are you trying to sign do some type of a sign and trade so you can match some of these contracts that are out there? Are they going to have to be creative? Sure. Are they still going to have to figure out what LeBron's going to do? Can they extend Luka long term? What are they going to offer to Austin Reeves? Is Reeves just going to play out this year and say, you know what, I'm going to wait till next season when I'm a free agent and probably go get $30 million a year? You got Dorian Finney-Smith that you got to figure out. You got a lot of expiring contracts, guys that are in the final year of their contract. And if you look at that, Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, Gabe Vincent. So you got guys that are on the final year of their contract. So a lot of options, I guess you can call it, for Rob Pelinka. I mean, on that list for me, I've always thought this, but because he's not been a Laker, I'm just going to assume he's never going to be a Laker. I've always thought Miles Turner would be a phenomenal fit for the Lakers. Obviously, that also had to do, we were talking about trying to get Miles Turner when Anthony Davis was still a Laker, right? So, that one kind of plays out a little bit different. That's how long we've been talking about Miles Turner. We've been talking about Miles Turner. It's been a couple years that Miles Turner's name's come up. I mean, Miles Turner, I think, would be a phenomenal fit for the Lakers. He can spread the floor. He doesn't clog up the paint. Defensively, he can go get blocks. But I don't know how much of a, reality that's going to be for the Lakers. I think, people have mentioned, I've heard a lot of people bring up Nick Claxton and trying to go trade for him. I think Nick Claxton would be a nice fit for the Lakers. I think anybody would be a much better fit than their current situation. The question is going to be just how creative can the Lakers be into trying to make that happen? Let me look at a few of the comments because I do want to see what you guys think in regards to some of these free agents that are out there. All right, let me see here. What do we got here? I got to go back now. I got to go back. Let's see. All right, let's see. All right, people are still complaining about how soft the Lakers are in their backcourt. We need Steven Adams. Can I ask everybody a quick question? Hypothetically, if Steven Adams came to the Lakers, In the regular season, he was only averaging about 14, 15 minutes a game. Now, that went up to about 22 minutes, I want to say. When I was doing the show with Trevor, we were talking a little bit about it. My only concern with Steven Adams, that is not your pick and roll guy. That's not like a perfect fit with that's not a perfect fit with Luka. If you told me Steven Adams is your backup center, I would tell you phenomenal, perfect. You have a defensive center that can come in, give you 15 minutes a game, and then hopefully help you out in the playoffs. The problem with Steven Adams that I have is I don't think Steven Adams is going to be, a guy that you can depend on and say, I don't think he's the perfect fit with Luka as far as offensively goes, even though I think he helps on the defensive side. But I also don't think Steven Adams is going to be playing 30 minutes a night. I don't think that's going to be happening. So I think that's one thing you got to keep in mind with Steven Adams. Okay, get another one here. Adams and Capella. I think this is maybe more of, what I mean and what I'm referencing to is if you can't get the perfect center, then you got to get the right centers that are able to do a couple things. Okay, that's interesting there. Clint Capella, I think, can play a little bit better, or at least have a role where he understands the pick and roll process and do that with Luka Doncic. And then if you got Steven Adams coming off the bench, then it's like, all right, you handled a lot of those needs that you needed with a big. Get another one here. Is Mark Williams still available? I think that ship has sailed. I don't think that they're going to go back into that, pool. I think Mark Williams tweeting after the game that he was happy that the Lakers lost probably is not going to ignite this Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick saying, let's go get us Mark Williams. You already had a chance to get him and you already said no. So I don't think the Mark Williams thing is going to help, or I don't think it's going to happen. Let me get a couple more here. Miles Turner is literally the perfect fit for the Lakers. Yeah, I agree with you. I do think there's something about, Miles Turner that obviously is in today's NBA to get that stretch big, but also to be a big that is not afraid of playing defense. I agree with you. Now, listen, if they got Miles Turner, they still got work to do, but at least he's, I do think that would be somebody that would fit, obviously a huge need for the Lakers. If the Pacers get to the finals, they're re-signing Miles. Can I tell you this? I think I had this in my notes, and I think I talked about it a little bit yesterday. There are a lot of teams that could get to the finals. I mean, the door is wide open for a few teams, and I don't know what's going to happen. You still got to bury the Celtics and bury the Cavs, and maybe if you do that, then that just means this is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder doing what they do. I guess we'll find out over the next two games that they have against Denver. But you are right. I think what happens to these free agents, a lot of it's going to be based on how far do these teams go. If the Knicks get to the NBA Finals, are they still moving heaven and earth to get Giannis? Maybe, probably, but they also could be saying, no, we don't need to. We can wait. We can wait on Giannis. We could keep building what we have. Let's let this thing, marinate a little bit. I don't know, but I do think depending on how far teams go does have some type of indication of how aggressive they are in the offseason. By the way, I'll play that the other way. I think Houston is going to be very aggressive in the offseason because they got eliminated in the first round and they feel like they're close. I think obviously Lakers are going to be very aggressive in the offseason. Okay, how aggressive are the San Antonio Spurs going to be with Wemby and trying to win right now? How aggressive? You kind of go up and down the list of some of these different teams here and what they're going to do based on what they did in the playoffs. Nas and Turner are staying with their teams, so scratch them out. Very well could happen. Nas is a dog. Mo Wagner should be a number 2 or 1. I don't want Mo Wagner as my starting center. I don't, personally. I definitely don't. The guy comes off the bench, that's different. Slee, we may need to go overseas and look. There's a diamond in the rough. Can I tell you guys something? Duran, I appreciate the comment here. I always wonder that. I'm always like, there ain't a freaking dude on planet Earth that's playing in Europe or that's playing in the G League or somebody that is a good enough basketball player to hang on an NBA roster when the Lakers are in like dire stretches and dire needs of a big. They went with Alex Len. That part always kind of confuses me. Can Minnesota afford Nas with Ant, Randall, and the French rejection on the roster? I think part of the reason why they traded Karl Anthony Towns is because of the financial issues. So maybe they were keeping Naz Reid in mind. I don't think they're trying to get rid of Naz Reid. I really, really don't think they're going to try to get rid of Naz Reid. All right, let me get a couple here. Miles isn't going anywhere. Better options through trade. By the way, you might be right on this one. And I think for the Lakers, this is probably the best path for them. Teams are going to want to do business with the Lakers. I do think that's going to happen because, they got expiring contracts. They got contracts that they're willing to get rid of. They got contracts that are out there that, if you look at the Lake Show and you look at some of the draft compensation that they can offer, I think teams know there's some desperation for the Lakers. They want to make sure that they definitely want to make sure Luka is going to be happy with the Lakers. So I think with all that, I think teams, if the Lakers call, they're going to pick up the phone. But yeah, sure, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, so what are you thinking? I think they would be kind of fools not to. The Lakers are always in this dire position to want to win now, to have to win now. They just traded for Luka Doncic. I mean, a lot of people that thought they gave up a lot for Mark Williams initially, and then obviously when the dust settled, the Mark Williams trade didn't happen. So they're going to be using those assets, and they'll probably be using that stuff against the Lakers as well. They'll say, cool, so you got this contract that we like. Rui Hachimura is an expiring contract. We also think he could be good for us for a year. Dalton Knecht, we think, has some promise. That 2029 or 2031 draft pick, or the 2031 draft pick that you have, we want that included as well. Here is our serviceable center, not an all-star. And I think the Lakers are going to be in a position where they're going to make changes. They're, of course, going to make changes. I think we all know that. Give me Steven Adams type. All right, let me get a couple more in here. All right. Close that right there. Let's see what we got here. Guys, Dwight Howard is done. We don't need Dwight Howard conversation anymore. He's done. He really is. Like, I think he even officially announced it as well. And he's been out of the league for a while as well. And I know what people are saying. It's like, well, that's better than anything else out there. But the guy's done. I guess every NBA team just wants to build the Lakers into a championship team. Send us your players. No, I think we all know that that's not going to happen, and that's not the case. I think we all kind of understand that. But I do think there are teams out there that are going to be trying to take advantage of the Lakers. So I'm not too surprised by that as well. Okay, a couple things here. I'm just going to kind of throw out here. But that just kind of gives you an idea of some of the top free agents, top centers in free agency. I do think the point about probably taking more of a path that's through trade is probably more likely. So I agree with that one. Let me throw a couple other NBA things out, or a couple other Laker things out there, because I saw this earlier today. I saw this morning as well. The Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks are looking at staging a preseason game in Vegas, according to NBA insider Mark Stein. You guys know that they play, I think, 2 games now. They've been playing for a while now, 2 preseason games. They've usually played in Vegas. Now Palm Springs is part of the mix as well after they built, their stadium that's out there. So something to just kind of keep in mind here. It looks like the Lakers and the Mavs could have a preseason game together. Get, obviously, the Anthony Davis piece of this. You get Luka, the piece of this. NBA doing whatever they can to entertain, and that's something that I saw earlier today. The other thing that I saw as well, just one last little Laker nugget that I have here. LeBron gives an update on severity of the knee. So Mind the Game podcast, Steve Nash, he was in the middle of doing that. I'm just going to read a couple things here, but he did kind of expand a little bit on that. He said, 22 years in the NBA, this is his first knee injury. I've had the regular tendonitis and patella and all that stuff, but this is the first time I've ever had a sustained knee injury where it's like, okay, you got to get off your feet. Here's what he said. He said, but I knew right then there was pain that I hadn't felt before. And I think obviously when I was running back to close out and he collided into me, my knee bent inward, and that's the MCL injury. That's what I had. 4 to 6 weeks, the docs told me. I have 4 to 6 weeks now. That's the benefit of not going on to the postseason. Obviously, I wish I was still going, but unfortunately, even if we had a game 5 at home, I would have probably missed game 6 and 7 and even further. I have some time though. So he got a little bit further into the injury. And, clearly, unfortunately for the Lakers, they didn't move on anyway, so this wasn't going to be a conversation. But hypothetically, if they were going to move on, you weren't going to see LeBron any further in that series against Minnesota. And frankly, I mean, even if LeBron was in that series, the Lakers really weren't giving too much confidence that they were going to do anything anyways, that anything special was going to happen. So, something to keep in mind in regards to that. All right, let me read a couple comments. I got a few NBA things. I got the weekend preview, and then we're going to call it a day here. Let's see what we got here. Real Laker fans got to be tired of the LeBron era, right? Let me kind of throw this a couple different ways. I do think there are people that are exhausted of LeBron, and I don't think they're just Laker fans. I think it's just people that have been around the NBA, and it's like 22 years in the NBA, and he's been the face of the league for pretty much all 22 years, or a good portion of it. I think there's some exhaustion. Yeah, I think there is. But I think the question you got to ask yourself is, are they better off with him or without him? Right now, at this stage, they're still better off with him. Now, I don't fall in the camp of I'm completely sick of LeBron. I think actually LeBron and AD, there was a point where you were getting to a point where it's like, I already know what's going to happen here. Can we see something different? I think the fact that it's LeBron and Luka kind of created a lot more curiosity for me. So I do think there was a little bit of, okay, well, let's see what this looks like. I talked about this, and I got a conversation with Eric Pincus that we had out a couple days ago when he was on the podcast. In a perfect world, he plays one more season for the Lakers, and then we kind of see what happens from here. But he's probably going to do what he does, and he's going to go get that 2-year deal, the 1+1. And frankly, I don't know if I need a 24th and a 25th season of LeBron James, because you just never know what's going to happen. If he's on your books for that amount of money and he has an injury, obviously that's going to drastically hurt the Lakers. Let's see what happens. Try to get one more season with LeBron, and we'll see if he plays one more, if he plays more than that. All right, let me get to a couple more comments here. Al James was spotted partying after Game 5 after MCL grade 2 tear. Photos and story in the Daily Mail. What now? I don't know what to tell you. The season was over. He was ready. He planned that night. He was going to Cancun. Did we leave Cancun? Nobody goes to Istanbul. They don't want to go to Istanbul. I don't think that marketing is going to work well. Hey, you just got eliminated from the playoffs. Where are you going? Istanbul. I don't know if that one's going to work. Go to Tokyo. You know how amazing Tokyo is? Nobody wants to go to Europe. I think got to be Cancun. Good morning, Al. Appreciate you. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you too, brother. Thank you very much. Okay, I have, just to kind of give everyone a quick idea, then we're going to do the weekend preview. Today, I'm not going to be able to do a show just for our people, for our members. But I am going to do one this weekend. So whether that's Saturday or Sunday, I'm still kind of figuring out. So just if you are a member, which I just put a link here, if you are a member and you're looking for obviously a show later today, I can't do the live show today for members, but I am going to do something this weekend. So just something to keep in mind. I'll keep you guys posted on that. If you're not a member, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to consider it. $3 a month, great way to support the channel. I would love to have as many members as possible. All right, let me give everyone a quick preview here coming into the weekend, and then we're going to call it a day. So a couple things going on, previewing some things. All right, tonight, 2 games. Going to a reggae show tonight. Looking forward to that. And OG later tonight. Israel Vibration. So looking forward to that. 2 games tonight. Cavs Pacers. Game 3 in Indiana. The Pacers are trying to put a nail in the coffin in this one. Thunder Nuggets. This actually, I think, is actually a pretty interesting game. And I say that primarily just because of the situation, the predicament. Denver took game one. It's a big game for Denver. It's a big game for Denver. If Denver can take game 3, we got ourselves a series. If Thunder kind of start, hey, we had a bad collapse, choke in game 1, we feel like we're the better team, that place is going to be, I've been to Ball Arena before, that place is going to be on fire tonight. That's going to be a phenomenal game. I'm really looking forward to this game. Okay, so that's the game those are the games that we have tonight as we preview. Tomorrow, you want 2 more games tomorrow? You got 2 more games tomorrow. Celtics, Knicks, 12:30. Why are they doing it so early? I saw Barkley complaining about that. That does seem like that's too early. You don't want to get Celtics, Knicks, 5:30 and at the Madison Square Garden. I know they're doing this because they want Warriors and Timberwolves in between games and traveling to have full 24 hours or 48 hours of rest. Knicks and the Celtics. Let me just say this real quick. I don't think Boston's dead yet. I think a lot of people are trying to bury the Boston Celtics. I picked Boston to win the NBA championship. So, obviously nobody thought Celtics would be up or would be down 0-2 after 2 home games against the Knicks. Don't completely count out the Boston Celtics yet. They have basically won 6 of the 8 quarters. Now, you give up 2 20-point leads. That's a complete collapse. It's a choke job. A lot of people are going at Tatum. They're going at the Boston Celtics, and they deserve it. But if you told me Boston walks into New York on Saturday and wins at the Madison Square Garden, I was looking at something. Let me see if I could find this here. They had a wild their regular season. I don't think I'll be able to find it right now just while I'm doing it on the fly. But during the regular season, let me actually see here if I could find it. You know what their record was on the road? The Boston Celtics, 33-8. They were better on the road than they were at home. I hope New York wins. I hope the Knicks win. But I don't think Boston's done. I really, really do not believe that the Boston Celtics are done. And, they're playing for their season on Saturday. And I think you'll probably get the best version of the Boston Celtics that you're going to get. If you don't get it in game 3, you're not getting it. And the series is over. And then Boston's got a lot of questions under their new ownership and what players they're going to keep. They have a crazy tax that they're going to be paying. I think I heard something like it's $250 million or something like that. So Boston's got a lot riding on game 3. We'll see what happens. And then game 4, just to kind of go back to what we were saying as far as a preview goes, game 4 is going to be on Saturday between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. So, and then Sunday, same thing. Same schedule tonight is the same schedule on Sunday. Thunder and the Nuggets, Cavs and the Pacers. We got a lot of games to react to over Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm looking forward to all that. MLB, just kind of a couple quick heads up on this. And I think I've mentioned to you guys, only thing I'm really doing is just kind of a little preview for what the teams in the NL West are playing, just because you got the NL West and obviously the competition there. Padres and the Rockies will start a 3-game set. You guys know the Rockies are 6-31. Jesus. Can't get any worse than that. Keeping it in the NL West, Giants taking on the Twins. Giants still winning 10 games over 500. A little bit of a surprise there. Dodgers, Diamondbacks, which started yesterday. They'll keep going at it. And obviously those are 2 teams in the NL West. Diamondbacks, I thought probably the second best team in the NL West. They have not shown that so far. They did win yesterday. And if you go look at the standings right now in the NL West, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, all within a few games of each other. Really, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants all within 1 game of each other. Last thing that I got here for the show today, one of my favorite athletes of all time, his birthday today, Mr. Padre, as they used to say, Tony Gwynn, one of my favorite athletes of all time. Unfortunately, he would have been 65 years old today. Unfortunately, passed away, had cancer. This was obviously years ago. But the great Tony Gwynn would have been 65 years old today. So whatever fan base you are, I don't think it matters. I think when you start talking about some of these legends, you got a true appreciation and respect for them. Tony Gwynn is one of them for me. Last thing that I'm going to mention here real quick, and then I'm going to look at a few of the comments and we're going to get out of here. Of course, the weekend preview is presented by the Wallace firm. If you or someone you know is in a serious situation, reach out to Brad Wallace, the Wallace firm, to see how they can help. For more information on how they can help you, go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa or click on the link in my description. That's wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Okay, let's get a couple comments in here, and then we're done for the day. Thank you. I appreciate you very much, brother. Appreciate that. Missy G, thank you very much for gifting a Hoops Talk membership out there. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Some people, I don't know, not crazy about the MCL injury. I don't know what you guys want me to tell you. Let's see what we got here. Pacers lose if Garland was healthy. Might be right. You might be right. But, to be honest, by the way, it's not just Garland. Garland's out. I think Mobley missed last game. Hunter missed last game. Hunter, who they traded for. They traded with Karis LeVert, I think, of Atlanta, that they traded for. They're missing 3 of their 5 best players. The Knicks better win game 3 or afraid Celtics will come back and win the series. I just don't think that series is over. I genuinely don't think that series is over. Now, you can look at it, and the Knicks have been dogs. Give the Knicks credit of how their style and how good Jalen Brunson has been and everything else. Give them a ton of credit for what they've been able to do. But with all that being said, Boston's got just wild, wild talent. All they need is to put together one good game in game 3, and then now all of a sudden the Knicks will feel like they're in a must-win game 4. So we'll see what happens on that front. Let's get a couple more of these in here. Tony Gywnn, Padres legend. There's a really good, was it Maddox that tells the story? By the way, I appreciate that you guys have respect as well. Whatever squad that you guys are, obviously rooting for. There's a story. I think it was, God, who told the story? Was it John Smoltz that told the story? And it was something like, I think it was something against Maddox, John Smoltz, and it might have been like Pedro Martinez. They had this many strikeouts against Major League Baseball players. And then against Tony Gwynn, it was like the smallest amount that you could possibly think of. That dude was a legend with the bat, complete legend. All right, my people, I think we're done for the day, and I think we're done for the week. Let me say this here real quick. This is the first week of the offseason that I've ever had. I'm talking about offseason for the Lakers that I've ever had, right? On this channel, when I started October 1st, and we were kind of already in the groove of things, and I was timing it also. I mean, I had been only a month gone from 710 ESPN, and there's kind of I'm in a little bit of learning from the audience and kind of what I'm going to do with the content and everything else. The numbers didn't fall off at all. The live shows didn't fall off at all. You know how appreciative I am of that? You know how encouraging that is? That just kind of tells me that you guys are here Monday through Friday to hang out and to shoot the shit. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And I just want you guys to know I'll continue to do everything I can to make sure that I'm putting on the right guests, that I'm doing everything I can from a content perspective to keep you guys entertained for at least an hour. So thank you for the week. Thank you for being a part of the show. Please consider subscribing if you guys have yet to do so. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Members, I got you guys this weekend. We will do a show this weekend. I'll give you some more information on it, but I'll catch up with you guys this weekend. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.